So I'm a big believer in Yom Haatzmaut. I enjoy seeing, let's say, card carrying, dyed in the wool Haredites who celebrate Yom Haatzmaut the full way because I think they've come to their beliefs in a nice objective manner. You know, they certainly weren't raised that way, but they've adopted it and they realize why it's important. Okay, so that's why, like, most importantly, what I saw yesterday. What I saw yesterday was that at the Hurva synagogue, which is, you know what it is. It basically is taken over, perhaps justly, by the Zilberman's types. Now they're pretty Haredi, except there's certain things they do that aren't in line with, let's say, normal Haredim. For example, there's a lot of tchelas wears among them. Okay, let them be that way. So I was there really early yesterday morning. I think I was one of the first five for their Vasika minyan, just because I happened to be traveling early yesterday morning. And normally I don't do that. I don't recommend getting up so early, but whatever. That's the way it worked. And the service yesterday morning was a regular Wednesday service, which did not bother me. They do like they usually do for like Rabbi Yochanan Zakai taught us with the B'nai B'Seira. Sometimes precedent does take precedence, right? This is what we do, and we're just going to stick to doing it. It's not an ideal thing. I certainly don't expect scholars to be doing that all the time. They should be at least aware of why they're doing. And sometimes we have to be able to consider that perhaps what we're doing needs to change. But that is an important principle in Judaism. And then I went to Har Habayis first thing. I got there early enough. I was in the first group. And you could see in the video, they right after Shachris and Birkas Kohanim, they went right into the full hollow with a bracha. I wasn't leading the group, but there were prominent Haredi rabbis who were doing this. That was what they were doing, and they were leading a crowd. And by the way, they got away with saying Hallel out loud and with some song. Not so loud. There was a certain point where people were getting a little bit excited. So, of course, the policeman did his noble duty of silencing everybody. If a Jew were to be singing the words of Hallel anywhere else in Jerusalem, it wouldn't be considered an act of provocation or public disorder, but there specifically it is. It makes no sense. I think at least a public disorder, it should be causing some sort of disruption, right? But just the fact that a Jew is doing Jewish things is already considered. So we have to fix that. And that almost made me feel like crying. Ma Shivla Hashem Kol Tak Malohi Alai. They were singing it. I was thinking, Yom Haatzmaut, what does that even mean? That's a new word, obviously, Haatzmaut, right? That they came up with. It's a Ben Yehuda type of word. So this is coming from a guy who's also called Ben Yehuda. But Haatzmaut, independence from what? But does it mean ribonut, which itself also is a new word? Does it mean sovereignty? Does it mean the nation can choose for itself? So we have a little bit of a few issues. And I can understand why some people don't keep Yom Haatzmaut, although I think they're wrong. Why I think they're wrong? Because I get lots of emails from people, all the different arguments. This year I've finally given up on Yom Haatzmaut, not saying Hallel no more. All the problems they raise are besides the point. The Thanksgiving Day is marked because of the salvation that God wrought for the Jewish community here in the land of Israel, and that's what's important. And all the problems that people can point out with the way the government today is run and has been run, etc., all come down to us. With all these arguments that they make against it, they could very well say you shouldn't be keeping, let's say, Hanukkah. Down with this whole 8 days of Hallel and all that. You know, the Hasmoneans, they really ruined the whole thing. Their regime really went off the derech, or you could say, and the temple eventually got destroyed also. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to keep this whole Passover holiday because that whole thing about being liberated from Egypt so that we can be free to serve God and not be idolaters, right, has been undone. A lot of Jews went off the derech in the intervening generations, and they were eventually. I think the day Nebuchadnezzar came onto the scene and took the Judeans into exile, that sort of undid the whole Passover thing. And by the way, there were Jews around at that time who did make such a claim. As a matter of fact, they wanted to abrogate the entire Torah. Asked the Navi, are we still are all bets off now? By the way, this is also a Christian idea. It's a very Christian idea to say that things have changed and now we're not into this anymore. So I think that with all respect, how much due respect, I don't know. I haven't heard this from major scholars, but some people who are, at least worth considering their opinions. Yom Haatzmaut is about what God did for us and not how we might have ruined those opportunities. And what I wanted to say was that really these 2 days, Yom Haatzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim, represent, like Rabbi Soloveitchik said, divine opportunity, the Nox, a great Hizdamnut, another modern Hebrew word. Yom Haatzmaut was the opportunity to undo the exile. It gave us a chance to rebuild the Jewish Commonwealth here in the land of Israel and gather the exiles. Yom Yerushalayim gave us a chance to rebuild the temple. Just because we blew those chances doesn't mean these should not be observed as holidays. More so, I call upon everybody this month and this year and every year to try to make up for that which we lack. It's almost not my fault. I was born quite a few years after the 6-Day War even. And I don't know how much guts I would have had back then if I was, let's say, a young adult at the time of the 6-Day War, if I had joined in the fight, or I had decided, you know what, I'm moving to the land of Israel. I'm going to do as much as I can now, help sell the land with this great opportunity. I don't know how much of a pioneering spirit I actually have. And now in my middle age, I could tell people, take advantage. Come to Eretz Yisrael. Now's the chance. The door has not been closed. And we should work on visiting the temple more. The more Bnei Yisrael who show up there, the more we get done, right? People were surprised by looking at the video. Wait a minute, you say you had Birkat Kohanim out loud, Bigalui, and the crowds are getting bigger. You said Hallel there. Yeah, you have complete Jewish services. Remember what happened a decade ago? They didn't let us daven, but things have been improving. The more we go, the more it will improve. I am very heartened to see, like I said, that certain mitzvahs become a Haredi thing, because then it sticks. It makes me very happy to see that visiting the temple and observing Yom Haatzmaut as a religious holiday is becoming a Haredi thing. That's good. That's a good sign. And one day it'll become just the default, and we'll get used to this. So please pray. Please come with us. Bring your friends, by the way. Chaver mivi chaver. What was Elkanah's big achievement, according to Chazal? Says that man would go up to Shiloh. That's where the temple was at the time. Why? Because people had slacked off with that mitzvah. By the way, that's the underlying current in the entire, or the theme of the entire book of Samuel. What is it? It's not said explicitly, but it starts with the remez. People were not caring to go to the temple. And in the middle of the book, we meet King David, whose main idea was, hey, let's build this temple. And for that, he was rewarded, like the Ramban points out and others. David was the one who stood up for this mitzvah. He must have learned it from Shmuel Navi, and himself learned it from his own father. That's what you were supposed to look forward to. And it's a running theme, a hidden theme in the book of Shmuel, and David HaMelech stood for that. So we had to reawaken the people. So please, do like Elkanah, do like David HaMelech. Encourage people to have the temple on their minds and bring them there. And that is how we're going to get along here.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.